Hey, welcome back to Kitchen All Over the World, the show where I cook things that I've never tasted before. On today's episode, I'm going to try to make a giant frickin' dumpling log. It's Oromo from Kyrgyzstan. Join me. So the first step is to make the dough. It's basically a general pasta dough. So flour, water, egg, salt. Let's measure out the flour. I've got my little kitchen scale here. I'm gonna zero it out. We need 500 grams of flour, and all-purpose will do. $468, a little bit more. $517, fuck. Now let's do our dry ingredients first. So I'll add a nice pinch of salt. Just want to season the dough a little bit so it's not so bland. Now we want 200 mils of water. Let's go ahead and crack an egg into it. And I like to use one of these rice paddles that you use to scoop the rice out of your rice cooker in the beginning stages, just because it's a little bit messy and really you just end up getting so much of the dough in between your fingers and everywhere it's not meant to be. Once it sort of starts to come together, then we can start using our hands and kneading like a normal ball of dough. And you see it looks kind of dry at first, but as you keep going, the moisture is really hidden in the dough, and it'll really absorb all of this flour. At this point, you can dump it onto the counter without it being too messy. It's always going to be a messy job. All right, once it comes together and looks pretty uniform, without any sort of cracking or clumps, we're gonna go ahead and put it into our bowl and let it rest for 30 minutes. And while that's happening, we can prepare our filling. So for our filling, I've got 2 of these onions. We just want to dice these up. I've got a pumpkin, also called a kabocha. And yes, this is probably the easiest way to cut it open, but you risk it falling on the floor. I'm going to sort of peel it a little bit. Once you have it cut into nice small slivers, it's a little bit easier. Kind of has a honeydew or cantaloupe kind of smell. I guess makes sense because melons are gourds, I think, or related at least. I haven't researched that at all, but I'm guessing. They're at least the same kind of seed transfer devices. Balls, if you will. And we're just going to dice this up about the same size as the onion. Next up, I've got some lamb. Now this is a shoulder blade, I believe, and it's about 300 grams. It's kind of a small amount of meat compared to the rest of the filling, but if it looks like it's a little bit too little, I can always add more. I've got extra on reserve. Just take this bone out. Unfortunately, we can't cook with that in this recipe because it's a dumpling, and that would be weird, having bones in dumplings. And like everything else in the filling, I'm gonna dice this up, cube it up. Just want to get rid of a little bit of the fat. Now to season that, I'm gonna do just a really basic salt and pepper. It's kind of interesting that a place along the Silk Road wouldn't use like all tons of spices, but I feel like that's the same with a lot of Central Asia. It's just a lot of salt and pepper. If you remember my Kazakhstan episode, which was Beshbarmak, and my Mongolia episode, which was Tsuivan, they both, it's very simple. You got onions, you've got garlic, salt, pepper, and that's it. I'm just gonna go ahead and give that a good mix. I'm gonna need a bigger bowl. It's a good mix of colors. So now that our dough has rested, it's time to roll out our dumpling. Dust our work surface a little bit with some flour, some sticks. This may be twice as much dough as we need, but we'll see how big this gets. I'll make this into basically a rectangle, and it should be kind of thin. And this is kind of the size we want it, but it's not quite as thin as we want it, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this right down the middle. We can save this for something else. Maybe we'll make 2 of these, depending on how much filling we have. Or we can make a really bad pizza. This needs to be more or less rectangular, so I'll fold those in and kind of stick them down. All right, so that's looking good. Let's take some oil and just give it a good drizzle all over, making sure to overshoot it. Get some on your table and just spread it all over by hand. So now we're gonna take our filling and gonna spread it evenly across the whole thing. And I think I'm gonna have enough filling for 2 of these guys. So if the first one comes undone, I can always make a second one. And you just want it to be a thin layer, because again, we're gonna be rolling this up like a big cigar, so. Now just take that first little bit, fold it over. You wanna start small because as it goes, just like one of those snowballs, snowmen, it's gonna get bigger as we go. So start from the edges and work your way in, turn it into a kind of snake. I just love those colors that are in there. That's so cool. Reminds me of, I don't know, like Christmas or something. I don't know why. It's the wrong colors for Christmas. So it looks cool. And you kind of want to, if you got stuff falling out of the edges, you want to pinch them shut a little bit. So now I've got my steamer basket. And this is just the one that came with my pot. I don't know why it has these little dangly bits, but then again, why do any of us have those dangly bits? I'm gonna go ahead and put some olive oil in a bowl for safekeeping. So I'm gonna just use that bowl to get it on my brush. And I just wanna coat this steamer all over. And now, let's try and transfer this in without it breaking, which may be a bit of a daunting task. If you fold it over like this, that kind of works. Slide that under. And just kind of spread it out a little bit. And there we go. A little wreath, dumpling wreath, massive dumpling wreath. Cool, let's cook this. So I got my pot on the burner. Let's bring some water to a boil. And now that we're boiling, go ahead and transfer the steamer basket to the pot. And we're gonna leave it there for 30 minutes. So as I said, this is a massive frickin' dumpling log, as you can see. I don't know why that exists as a thing, but hey, I guess some people want to supersize things, so let's see. So right away, the flavors in this are uniquely Central Asian. They taste just like that Kazakh dish that I made, just like the Mongolian dish that I made. That salt, pepper, lamb, and noodles combo is 100% what's going on here. It's absolutely delicious. All the meat and pumpkin and onions got super tender in the whole steaming process, and they've all sort of absorbed the salt and pepper seasoning, but that's really all that's going on here. It's nothing extravagant, nothing over the top, nothing unexpected. It's just a giant freaking dumpling log with lamb.